Hi there, Gemini. I'm EllaAradia, and welcome to your June 2026 Psychic Tarot reading. This reading is for my Gemini air signs, where we'll be exploring the overall energies and themes for the month ahead, as well as taking a deeper dive into how these might be playing out for you in your life. This is a general reading, so it's not going to resonate for all of you, but what I do find is there's always a shared theme that runs through the collective of all of you Gemini signs. So it may show up in different areas of your life in slightly different ways, but the theme is always the same. So take what feels aligned to you and just leave the rest. And before we jump in, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoy this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you can get notified when the next videos are up. So Gemini, let's jump in. I always like to just tune into the energies first, Gemini, before I start pulling any cards. I'm a psychic reader, so I like to see what the universe shows me. I'm seeing a moment of a reevaluation, a reset, a moment where I feel like many of you are going through some kind of transition here, where there is a process happening of, let's say, redefining yourself in some way. And I do feel like this has come about from something coming to a completion. That could be a relationship. It could be a career that you have, a job that you've been in for some time. It usually, I feel this kind of process happens a lot more when it is something that is more long term, that has completed itself. And particularly, in terms of love, it's whenever we have a major breakup, we always go through a process of, let's say, redefining who we are without that person, who we are without that relationship. But I do feel like for many of you, it has been quite a challenging time. And you're still in, I feel, some kind of transition here. Quite a challenging ending, a lot of emotions, difficulty to let go of attachments, to kind of disentangle somehow. But to me, I get this feeling of, something is completing because it's meant to on a soul level. Whatever soul contracts you had with this person, with this place, like I said at the beginning, the theme is the same, but it can show up in different areas of your life. It just feels like something's come to a completion. You've learned what you were meant to learn. You've experienced what you were meant to experience. And now, it's time for a different path. Definitely some lessons here, I feel, around choosing you. Even if other people around you find that a little bit uncomfortable in terms of, perhaps choices, decisions that you make, or ways in which you express yourself. Because I feel like there's been a little bit of kind of putting that to one side in recent, months or years, and kind of letting things slide in that way. But a big invitation right now, I feel, to step into a new version of yourself. So with your overall energies, we have the Chariot. It's a card of movement, traveling sometimes for some of you. There may have been a new offer, opportunity. Some of you might be changing location. But it's also a card of getting back in the driving seat of your life, taking the reins and navigating whatever comes next, navigating the ups and downs of life, whatever they are. Because I do feel that there is a need for you to regain your power in some way, step into your power, step into your truth, and really kind of get back in control of your life again. What lies in your recent past, the Ten of Swords, some kind of challenging, difficult ending. Now, the Ten of Swords is usually something that we don't come back from, something that we didn't see coming, kind of feeling stabbed in the back, betrayed, disappointed, let down in some way, and often quite a difficult ending. There can be a lot of emotions, a lot of sadness, maybe even heartbreak for some of you, but some kind of feeling of being betrayed in some way. That doesn't necessarily mean, a third party energy in terms of, romantic connections. Sometimes it can just be, feeling let down, that someone, perhaps didn't show up in the way that you really wanted them to, the way that you needed to. And so there is this sense of kind of being let down, betrayed. Your current energies, we have the Hierophant. I often think of that as the counseling card. It might be a moment for some of you to, seek out a trusted friend or somebody that you look up to, maybe even a teacher or mentor, and, get a little bit of support and guidance right now, especially in terms of love. This is a card of keeping the faith as well. This is where we also connect to the divine. And, keeping the faith that even though, there's change, it's maybe a difficult time, a difficult transition, there is a higher purpose always to everything that unfolds. For those of you that this relates to career, I'm getting the sense of maybe some of you being let go and you just didn't see that coming. It came out of the blue. Or a promotion being given to somebody else, or another role that you wanted, something falling through where it feels like there has been, some kind of sense of being betrayed or let down in some way. And I do feel for many of you, this has created a diversion. It's put you, kind of in this transition, an invitation here to walk a new path. And there's a little bit of a lack of a clear direction, I feel here. And for those of you, that you're at a bit of a loss as to where do you go next in your career, life goals, whatever that is, the Hierophant is all about, the tried and tested path. So it might be also to, study, get some guidance, get guidance from people that have perhaps experience in perhaps a direction that you're thinking to take right now. And sometimes it's about, following those footsteps until you get to a point where you can put your own expression into that. Your feelings towards your situation, the Eight of Wands. Definitely a sense of wanting to move on. The Eight of Wands is a very unhindered energy, unobstructed. It's a very fast-moving energy where there is often, some kind of call to action and need to take a swift action moving forwards. Sometimes represents communication channels being open. In terms of love, if there is some kind of distance between you or some kind of no contact situation, it often indicates incoming messages and things like that. That could be opportunities as well, because I do get the sense, pay attention to what is coming in around you in terms of opportunities, possibilities that the universe might be, bringing in for you right now. Doesn't mean you have to, rush into anything. It's about knowing, which ones to take action on. And obviously to do that, it's very important to, really listen to what your heart wants moving forwards. But there's something more out there for you. I feel like this ending, whatever this is, of course, there's a lot of soul lessons there. Definitely feel an energy of, in some ways, letting things slide, settling for less somehow, not having your needs fully met, but maybe staying in something for longer than you should have, longer than is healthy. And all of this that's happened, I feel, has brought up the soul lessons that you need to work on, the emotions, the old patterns, because when I feel into this, it goes right back to childhood. Whatever this Ten of Swords is, it's brought up some kind of abandonment wound, feeling let down, disappointed. And as a result of that, perhaps feeling unloved, putting your needs to one side in the hopes of love, in the hopes of perhaps being acknowledged in some way. And that's why I'm seeing this kind of moment of a reset where, you are being asked to choose yourself now moving forwards and really express who you truly are, and not being afraid to do that. And doing that through the energy of self-love, knowing your worth and your value moving forwards, and that you can do that and have love and be loved, and be acknowledged, loved and accepted. Because sometimes when we have these childhood patterns and we put our needs to one side, we abandon ourselves in the hopes of being loved, accepted, acknowledged, all of those things. Sometimes we can have the idea that if we choose ourselves, that we can't be loved. But actually, it doesn't work like that, because the more you invest in yourself in that way, the more the outside mirrors that back to you. And so whatever has been missing in this connection, in whatever way you have not felt chosen, appreciated, loved by, the person that you've been involved with, or the job that you've been investing in, has been mirroring the relationship you're having with yourself in that way, because there's something where you've put your needs to the side, you've let things slide, and it's been, all about the other person. It's the inner child. The inner child is, looking for that love, that recognition, to be validated on the outside, when the invitation here is to really find this on the inside. And those are the soul lessons that I'm kind of seeing here. But I do feel that, it's a pretty challenging moment, a pretty challenging transition, a lot of change, a lot of emotions, a lot of, these kind of feelings of being abandoned and not enough and not good enough. All of that stuff is coming up. But just remember that, like the dawn is rising there in the background, with every ending there is a new beginning. And sometimes I feel, when we're struggling to sort of unravel from something that's not healthy and deep down inside's not making us happy, sometimes I feel the universe comes in and brings about, some kind of sudden change. Sometimes it's actually to move somebody out of your life, or create some kind of diversion, in your career path, because you're meant to take a different path. In the challenge here, we have the Page of Swords. Very much this energy of gathering information still, perhaps not quite ready to make a decision. It feels like you don't quite have that clarity yet. I feel like there's too much emotional stuff going on at the moment. So it may just be to, okay, yes, there is a need to kind of move forwards, to make some kind of decision. But at the same time, there isn't a clear direction here, because I feel like you're still, getting all the facts of a situation, gathering information, and, it is absolutely to do that so that you can make an informed choice moving forwards. But it may also be about following your heart as well. Maybe the answers are just not there yet. Maybe the answers won't come, not now anyway. Maybe this is something for later, but it might be something that you're getting stuck on right now, trying to understand, why all of this has happened. Why has it unfolded this way? Why have things gone down like that? Because I do feel in love, this was somebody that you had down as your person. This is also the energies of the Hierophant. It's about commitment and building strong foundations with somebody that are built on shared values, shared beliefs, and absolutely is a card of a long-term commitment. But somehow I also feel that there were things that weren't, 100% making you happy about this connection. But as I said before, I just feel like you've hung in there, hoping things will change, hoping things will get better. And, there's a little bit of a difficulty sometimes to let go of, that long-term vision, the dream, what we thought it was going to be, how we thought things were going to turn out. And so that understanding, isn't quite there yet with the Page of Swords. But it may not come until a little bit further down the road. Usually, when you start to just walk a different path, it takes a little while, but as things unfold and you meet new people and you have new experiences, you can look back, and I do feel you can understand a little bit more clearly, why things happened the way they did. Sometimes doesn't make it, easier emotionally, but it does get better with time. But I just feel that there is a higher purpose to this, and there is somebody that is better for you. And it is to see, the whole picture here, not just get caught up in, that dream, that potential, that there is another reality here that I'm feeling where things, just weren't quite right. And, something was missing for you. And it is a challenge to let go, because when you let go, that's when, all the feelings of that abandonment wound from the past actually come up. But it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to heal that and move into a more complete and whole space in yourself, so that moving forwards, you can attract, the right person, the right job, whatever that is for you, that is going to give back to you as much as you put in. That's what I'm feeling here. Hidden influences, the Fool, a new beginning, a new chapter. So the ending of a difficult, challenging time, but the beginning of a new one. And you may not know the destination, but the energies of the Fool are just about, moving forwards with an open heart, with curiosity, not fearing the unknown here. Just following your heart. Just take it one day at a time. And just trust that, it's leading you in the right direction here. The Fool is the first card in the Major Arcana, and it represents, moving into a whole new phase in your life, which is what I was saying at the beginning. Ending of an old one, the beginning of a new chapter, letting go of old versions of yourself, limiting beliefs, old patterns, anything like that, and stepping into a whole new version of you. and one that's going to bring you more happiness and more abundance ultimately. It's just a little bit of a bumpy transition, I feel. With your advice from the universe, the Two of Swords, often a choice that needs to be made, sometimes one that we're avoiding, sometimes it can be a truth that we're avoiding, you know, and you are being asked to, you know, really see the whole picture of this situation, you know, not just what you thought it was going to be. And sometimes when there's a difficult choice to make, she's wearing a blindfold, but the heart is open, you know, the heart is really waiting to be heard here. And so sometimes we can, you know, get a little bit stuck in the mind. This is about having the courage to kind of face, you know, any uncomfortable truths. Really listen to your heart, because your heart always knows what it really wants moving forward. So you're being asked to take off that blindfold and, you know, really look at the whole picture and the truth of the situation, and, you know, really find the courage to do that if you can, and listen to your heart moving forwards, because your heart always knows what it wants, and your heart always knows, you know, what is really for your highest and best. We've just got to be brave enough and honest enough to really listen to it. In the outcome, we have the Nine of Swords, which is often a card of anxiety and worry. Very much this energy of going back over the past, like running things round and round in your mind, going back over old conversations, messages. The kind of thing where, you know, you wake up in the night and you start thinking about the situation. But I do feel like this is also a little bit of a message for you to just try to let go of the worries a little bit. The understanding will come later as you move forwards. And the most important thing right now is to, I feel, get more into an energy of trust, trusting your path, trusting what's unfolding for you, because, you know, your path is authentic to you. It's not about what anybody else is doing. And it really is, in this situation, I feel, about trusting what's unfolding, trusting your path, trusting, you know, the path of life, and, you know, this diversion that the universe has brought in for you. So Gemini, I'm going to leave that there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, moving forward, always trust, you know, what feels right for you. So thanks so much for being here, and I wish you a great month ahead.